Hey, John here again. So if you got one of these Stihl weed whackers, it really doesn't matter the model. Not even sure what model this is, but they're generally all the same. When this piece breaks, they're a little, you push down it so you can release your trigger type deal. Without it, it won't, you can't, do the trigger. So they break all the time. Here's what it looks like, new piece. They do break all the time, and I'll keep one or two on hand, but this is a throttle interlock, it's called, part number from lockout level, I guess it's called, whatever, that's the part number. And this is basically simple to do, but there are a few things you got to know as far as what screws to take out, and basically you got to take out damn near all of them. You got to take this air cleaner off first. Well, this is what I do anyways. This thing looks pretty dirty. Yeah, of course. And then underneath there's two that need to come out, and 3 and 4. I leave the center one in, and a lot of times I can get, you'll see what I'm talking about, because this plugs into, the center one is locked into your shaft. If you need to take the shaft out to look at things or to get a better clear view, I'll probably take it out anyways, but I think you can leave that in. I'm not sure, but I am going to take it off, just so everything isn't disconnected, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 on that side, and then there's 2 up here, 2 on the 2 on the handle on the front side. Get them 2 off, and this thing should come apart. There's your screws. Alright, so they're all out except for that center one. Again, it holds your shaft in. I always forget if you can do this without that. Let me just leave it in for now. I didn't mention that one yet. Flip it back over, and now you can take a screwdriver, whatever you got, to separate the handle. Should pop off pretty easy. Oh no! Before you do that, there's one on the top here. You gotta get the top one out, because this whole piece has to come off, believe it or not. I'm just kind of work it off. Bugs already. Seems loose. Maybe I left one in. Alright, that's loose. Crack this handle open. Get the plastic tabs released. Now this should come off. There we go. Get your spark plug boot out of there. Alright, so this is off. This is what I was talking about. This underneath that bolt, that one nut is just plugged into your shaft here. Now, I guess you should take it off. I guess you could probably work around it without taking it off, but let's just go ahead and take it off. Alright, now the shaft just should pop right out of here. It's coming out, but make sure on the camera here. Make sure your cable comes out. Just work your cable, push it back in. This thing should just pop right off. Just kind of lay it to the side. Now you can move your handle out of the way. Now you can see what's going on here. There's a switch. This old one is broke. Now, for whatever reason, the new one doesn't come with this spring. You need this spring, obviously. So just kind of pry up easy. Don't break the tabs. And get this guy out of here. Watch me break the tab. And just take your spring off. And just work this booger out of here. That's the way it goes. Work your new guy in. Before you snap it in, spring goes on this side. you know, what side you want to call that, but let me show you how the spring operates first. It's just a little 2-tab spring, and it just kind of rests between the hand. I don't know if you can see that, between the handle underneath, and just rests on here. So it's pretty simple stuff. In case you're wondering how that spring goes, because you need that spring. If your spring is missing, I don't know if they sell that spring separately or not. Usually they're intact. I don't think I've ever come across one. So anyway, kind of set it up like that, where the one end of the spring is underneath this handle, and snap her back into place without breaking the tabs, right? And there is a little groove for your wires down here. Be sure not to, when you put it back together, be pinched in there. So now that that's this thing is that way, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Just make sure your spring is in the correct location. Alright, everything's good to go. Now I can slide this shaft back in and tighten that one bolt down. But like I said, before you tighten this, you plug your shaft in. Before you tighten that down, make sure that wire ain't pinched in there, which it is. So just slide her down, and you'll see where this these two side things, you'll see where they fit. It can just use the marks that way on a bar, but you'll see that it only slides in there one way. And again, make sure you don't pinch these wires. They got to be underneath the handlebar. See how that just fit in there? Now it works. It'll break again, but it's working for now. So now I just clamp this, hold it as best you can. Put that one center bolt in, make sure that's in first, just because that holds your shaft in. You got to make sure that's in there first. Because if it ain't right, if it's just, you know, next to it or pinching it, it means your head's misaligned. You're gonna have issues. So then I just kind of hold things and give her a tug. Make sure it is in there. It's underneath here, you can't see it, but give it a tug. If it's in there, then you can put it back together. Again, I hold this because if you let it go, it will sag. It'll separate here. So I just can't kind of keep it supported. Work this piece back on there. Make sure your wires are not pinched. This spark plug boot's always a pain in the butt. Keep trying until we get it. Spark plug boot is kind of problematic, but it's got to come up through that hole for sure. And this is what I was talking about. Make sure that piece is in there, lined up and correct. Something isn't jiving. There we go. Let's see, this side okay? See if we can pinch it together now. Nope, something's... Oh, there it goes. Just started to bite. Before I tighten it down, again, this goddamn spark plug boot. Should be good right there. Alright, getting close. What's up? Alright, where was we? Somebody came in. We're tightening this down, so I think this was starting to bite. Yep, it is. Oh, I think we're golden now. I can feel it coming together. Alright, so I don't know what's holding it up before. So now, back to where we were. This needs to be, let's see what we had a frame here. So, needs to be squeezed in. See how these are out? You can either try to squeeze it in or just put a bolt in our underneath part and suck it in that way. Usually you hear a click when it snaps into place, but I could feel it in my hand squeezing together, so you do have to kind of hold it, otherwise it wants to kind of separate. Yeah, it's clicking in now. If you don't hear it click, that's alright, just tighten it down. Look at your seam. There we go. Tick. tighten everything. There's not a major torque on these, they're just plastic. So where we at here? Let's get the front piece done. No more seam, it's good. Let's see. Spring action, good to go. Throttle action, it's dirty, but throttle's working. I gotta clean this carburetor up. This whole area is all gummed up. So throttle works. This is what I started. You have to push this down to start this. Otherwise, if you don't push it down, your throttle catches and it sticks. So you need this piece to operate the throttle. You know, your hand goes over, obviously. But anyways, that's all there is to that. I gotta clean the rest of this up, get it going, start her up. Yep. Easy peasy.